Welcome to Home Biz Tax Talk. My name is Lysandra Everett. I am the Home Biz Tax Lady, where I help home business owners win the tax game. Home Biz Tax Talk airs Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock-ish. And when you tune into my show, you're going to hear about topics that are important to the home business community. All right. So this morning, I want to talk about my working home business owners, my home business owners that you might have your business and your spouse is working, all of that stuff. Okay. So, I really want to talk about W-4s a little bit. If nothing else has happened with this new tax season, with this being the first tax season where the new tax law, people are seeing the impact of the new tax law. If nothing else has happened, people are waking up and paying attention. Okay. So one of the things that happened with the tax law is that, every tax bracket got a tax cut. And so normally when there is tax reform, number one, it takes time to implement. And number two, employees go through the whole HR thing and, adjust their withholdings and such, right? But with this tax reform, the IRS said, hey, we're just going to do that for you. Well, it didn't work out for everybody, which is why, the IRS now has reduced their under withholding penalty for people because they realized that, they screwed it up. Okay. And then I just saw news yesterday that they will actually be releasing another W-4 within the coming year. And this one is going to be more complicated. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But what I really want to talk about is that, like I said, if nothing else, you figured out your W-4 is not something that you can just go to sleep on. It really is something that you need to pay attention to. So, I know that, there are programs that are out here that teach you how to adjust your withholding so that you have more money coming home and financial management and all that. Totally get it. But the problem is when people go to sleep, you adjust those withholdings, but you don't account for profits in your business. And then you wind up with a tax bill that you can't pay. And this is where I've had quite a few clients this year who have done that whole withholding thing so that they have more money coming home, but then they wound up with profits in their business and holy cow, now I don't have enough money to pay my taxes. I didn't know about setting aside money for taxes, which there are a lot of people, even though there are plenty of people that watch my YouTube channel, there are a lot of home business owners that do not know that you need to set aside money for taxes. And if you are not teaching that to people, if you're teaching people to adjust their W-4 so they have more money coming home and, for a business and all of that stuff, and you're not teaching them to to save money for taxes, you are doing them a disservice. Okay. You just need to add that part in there so that people can be prepared. But then, but like I said, your W-4 is not something you just set it and forget it. You have to pay attention to your money. So if you want to have your withholdings, then, have that be the way to pay your tax bill versus, with your business at the end of the year, then you need to adjust that. You need to take those allowances down. All right. And even if you have a 2-person household, one person has a job and one person has a business, again, that business owner really starts bossing out, you better be saving for taxes because those withholdings, if that other person with the job does not adjust the withholdings, then you're going to wind up with the tax bill. Having a tax bill is not anything bad. Having a tax bill that you can't pay, that's the bad part. Okay, so this is why I'm telling you, this is something that you need to review annually. Like, I don't care if you just work and you don't have a business, you need to review your W-4 annually to account for things like raises and all of that so that you know that you're withholding enough and not too much. The goal with withholdings, okay, is really to break even as much as possible. You don't want to have to write too big of a check and you don't want to have to, get this super large refund. So you want to try to break even as close as possible. I think the closest I've ever seen with any of my clients is like $49. And I was like, that was a miracle, but they still asked me how they could, what they could do to not owe. I'm like, 49 whole dollars? Like, seriously? Like, you're not going to get any better than that. But anyway, So what I'm saying is that as your business grows, then you need to adjust your W-4 if you're going to have your withholdings pay your tax bill versus you paying it out of your business. So this is why I say it's not something that you go to sleep on. And also, as your life changes, right? You might be, and this is kind of, knowing about your tax return, knowing about your tax credits and such. And with this new W-4 that the IRS is coming out with, it's going to require you to know those things. One of the things I read yesterday, but it says that the new W-4 will ask for details on things like itemized deductions, tax credits, interest and dividend income, and total household income. So it's not going to be enough to just know about you. You're going to have to know about your spouse as well. You're going to have to know how much money they're making. You're going to need to be thinking about, hey, I'm getting a tax credit for my child, but is my child about to age out where I'm not going to get that tax credit next year? Right? Because see, when you've got children that are graduating from high school, you're no longer going to get the child tax credit. With the current tax code, you're going to get the other credit, right? The other credit is, number one, not refundable, and number two, is not as good as the child tax credit. All right. So you have to really, this new W-4 is going to require you to know more about not only your own finances, your own tax credits, but also your spouse. I have, a lot of spouses, especially spouses that are, high 5 and 6-figure earners that really don't know about each other's interest and dividends account, because the way that our society has grown, people are coming together with their own assets, before they're married. And the other person really doesn't know. Everybody just sends their tax forms to the tax person, and then the tax person just figures it out, and then everybody goes back to sleep until the following year. And so with this new W-4, it's not going to allow that. You're really going to have to know what's going on in your family's finances. And you should, just letting you know, you really should know what's going on. So with the current W-4, it takes a little bit of that into account, but really not a lot. And it's easy to misread, and there's nothing wrong with getting help to fill out your W-4, because, the way that tax law and language is written, it can be really, really confusing. And especially if you don't understand, your filing status, and if you don't understand how credits affect you, what kind of deductions you have, understanding the impact of a standard deduction versus an itemized deduction. If you don't know all of those things, it is okay to go sit down with someone to get this right. Because the money that you invest to get this right is going to save you on the back end and keep you from stroking out come tax time. And again, when you think about taxes only during tax time, that is when it is too late. You need to be looking at this stuff now. If you have not looked at your W-4 since 2 years ago, you need to be looking at that now. You need to be looking at what your withholdings are. You need to go to HR, set an appointment to go to your HR, and make sure that you're withholding. And if you were one of the ones that were like, holy cow, I wound up having to pay taxes when I'm not used to that, you might need to go sit down with your HR, figure out the W-4. Maybe it was with your withholdings. Maybe it's because you lost tax deductions. You have to know these things. This is the year to figure it out. I just got a call from someone that said, hey, I can't find my tax return from last year. You didn't send it to me. So that means you didn't listen to anything I said about reviewing your tax return and your W-4 since last year. Just no. We don't tell you these things for our health. We tell you these things to help you. And if you don't help yourself, well, again, we don't turn into Harry Potter on April 15th. We can't fix it. The fixing is during the year. So if you have a business, even if you don't have a business, if you haven't looked at your W-4, you need to make that the top order of business. You need to go and figure out what your withholdings are. Look at what your withholdings are so far this year. Is it, 1/4 of what you owed for your total tax for 2018? right? Everybody has a total tax. If you look on your tax return, there is a line that shows your total tax. We're not talking about your tax refund. We're not talking about your tax liability. We're talking about your total tax amount. Everybody has that. You go find out what that is for you. And then you look on your W-4 to look at your withholdings to say, is this meeting my tax liability? And you do that, whether you do it, every 6 months, every year, something, so that you are aware of what's going on, what's coming out, and what kind of position that's going to put you in for next year. And if you didn't like the way that your tax return turned out for 2018, then you need to work now to fix it for 2019. Waiting until April of 2020 is not going to fix it for 2019. Okay, if you don't take anything else from this video, please take that away. Go look at your W-4. Go look at your withholdings. Look at your tax savings. Okay, look at what's coming out of your check to make sure that you're on track to meet your tax liability for 2019. Okay, so that's it for today, you guys. Yes, I am exhausted. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning into Home Biz Tax Talk. Again, we air Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock-ish, and you can come right here to get your questions answered about your home business taxes. All right. Have a great day. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.